On the first day of the month, I was in my house alone, and was resting on my bed, and slept. And there appeared to me two men, exceeding big, so that I never saw such on earth. Their faces were shining like the sun. Their eyes too were like a burning light, and from their lips was fire coming forth. With clothing and singing of various kinds, in appearance purple, their wings brighter than gold, and their hands whiter than snow. They were standing at the head of my bed, and began to call me by my name. And I rose from my sleep and saw clearly those two men standing in front of me. And I saluted them, and was seized with fear. And the appearance of my face was changed from terror. And those men said to me, "Have courage, Enoch. Do not fear. The eternal God sent us to you, and lo, you shall today ascend with us into heaven. And you shall tell your sons and all your household all that they shall do without you on earth in your house, and that no one seek you till the Lord return you to them." And I made haste to obey them, and went out from my house, and made it to the doors, as it was ordered me, and summoned my sons, Musal and Regem and Gad, and made known to them all the marvels those men had told me. It came to pass, when Enoch had told his sons, that the angels took him onto their wings, and bore him up onto the first heaven, and placed him on the clouds, and there I looked. And again I looked higher, and saw the ether, and they placed me on the first heaven, and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea. They brought before my face the elders and rulers of the stellar orders, and showed me 200 angels who rule the stars, and their services to the heavens, and fly with their wings, and come round all those who sail. And here I looked down and saw the treasure houses of the snow, and the angels who keep their terrible storehouses, and the clouds whence they come out and into which they go. They showed me the treasure house of the dew, like oil of the olive, and the appearance of its form as of all the flowers of the earth. Further, many angels guarding the treasure houses of these things, and how they are made to shut and open. And those men took me and led me up onto the second heaven, and showed me darkness greater than earthly darkness. And there I saw prisoners hanging, watched, awaiting the great and boundless judgment. And these angels were dark-looking, more than earthly darkness, and incessantly making weeping through all hours. And I said the men who were with me, "Wherefore are these incessantly tortured?" They answered me, "These are God's apostates, who obeyed not God's commands, but took counsel with their own will, and turned away with their prince, who also is fastened on the fifth heaven." And those men took me then, and led me up onto the third heaven, and placed me there. And I looked downwards, and saw the bubbling with fragrant exhalation, and in the midst of it, the trees of life. In that place whereon the Lord rests when he goes up into paradise. And this tree is of ineffable goodness and fragrance, and adorned more than every existing thing. And on all sides it is in form gold-looking, and vermilion, and fire-like, and covers all, and it has produce from all fruits. Its root is in the garden at the earth's end, and paradise is between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And two springs come out which send forth honey and milk, and their springs send forth oil and wine. And they separate into 4 parts, and go round with quiet course, and go down into the paradise of Eden between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And then they go forth along the earth and have a revolution to their circle, even as other elements. And here there is no unfruitful tree, and every place is blessed. And there are 300 angels very bright who keep the garden, and with incessant sweet singing and never silent voices, serve the Lord throughout all days and hours. And those two men led me up onto the northern side, and showed me there a very terrible place. And there were all manner of torches in that place, cruel darkness and unilluminated gloom. And there's no light there but murky fire constantly flaming aloft. And there is a fiery river coming forth, and that whole place is everywhere fire. And everywhere there is frost and ice, thirst and shivering, while the bonds are very cruel, and the angels fearful and merciless, bearing angry weapons, merciless torture. And I said, Woe, woe, how very terrible is this place. And those men said to me, This place, O Enoch, is prepared for those who dishonor God, who on earth practice sin against nature, which is child corruption, after the sodomitical magic, making enchantments and devilish witchcrafts, and who boast of their wicked deeds, stealing, lies, calumnies, envy, ranor, fornication, murder, and who accurse steal the souls of men, who seeing the poor take away their goods and themselves wax rich, injuring them for other men's goods, who, being able to satisfy the empty, made the hungering to die, being able to clothe of stripped the naked, and who knew not their Creator, and bowed to the soulless and lifeless gods, who cannot see nor hear. Vain gods, who also built he images and bowed down to unclean handiwork. For all these is prepared this place, among these, for eternal inheritance. Those men took me and led me up onto the fourth heaven, and showed me all the successive goings, all the rays of the light of sun and moon. And I measured their goings and compared their light, and saw that the sun's light is greater than the moon's, its circle, and the wheels on which it goes, always like wind, going past with very marvelous speed. And day with the sun continually, and by day 15 myriads of angels attend it, and by night 1,006 winged ones issue with the angels before the sun's wheel into the fiery flames, and thou angels kindled the sun and set it alight. The men took me onto the fifth heaven and placed me, and there I saw many and countless soldiers called Grigori, of human appearance, and their size was greater than that of great giants, and their faces withered, and the silence of their mouths perpetual, and there was no service on the fifth heaven. I said to the men who were with me, Wherefore are these very withered, and their faces melancholy, and their mouths silent? And wherefore is there no service on this heaven? And they said to me, These are the Grigori, who with their prince Satan rejected the Lord of light, and after them are those who are held in great darkness on the second heaven, and 3 of them went down onto the earth from the Lord's throne to the place man, and broke through their vows on the shoulder of the hiller, and saw the daughters of men, how good they are, and took to themselves wives, and befouled the earth with their deeds, who in all times of their age made lawlessness and mixing, and giants are born, and marvelous men, and great enmity. And therefore God judged them with great judgment, and they weep for their brethren, and they will be punished on the Lord's great day. And then those men took me up and bore me up onto the sixth heaven, and there I saw 7 bands of angels, very bright and very glorious, and their faces shining more than the sun shining, glistening, and there is no difference in their faces, or behavior, or manner of dress. And these make the orders, and learn the goings of the stars, and the alteration of the moon, or revolution of the sun, and the good government of the world. And when they see evil doing, they make commandments, and instruction, and sweet and loud singing, and all songs of praise. These are the archangels, who are above angels' measure, all life in heaven and on earth, and the angels who are appointed over seasons and years, and angels who are over rivers and sea, and who are over the fruits of the earth, and the angels who are over every grass, giving food to all, to every living thing, and the angels who write all the souls of men and all their deeds and their lives before the Lord's face. In their midst are 6 phoenixes, and 6 cherubim, and 6 winged ones, continually with one voice singing. And it is not possible to describe their singing, and they rejoice before the Lord at his footstool. And those 2 men lifted me up then onto the 7th heaven, And I saw there a very great light, and fiery troops of great archangels in corporal forces and dominions, orders and governments, cherubim and seraphim, thrones and many-eyed ones, 9 regiments, the Ion, stations of light. I became afraid and began to tremble with great terror. And those men took me and led me after them and said to me, "Have courage, Enoch, do not fear," and showed me the Lord from afar, sitting on his very high throne. For what is there on the 10th heaven, since the Lord dwells there on the 10th heaven, is God. In the Hebrew tongue, he is called Aravel. And the heavenly troops would come and stand on the 10 steps according to their rank, and would bow down to the Lord, and would again go to their places in joy and felicity, singing songs in the boundless light, with small and tender voices, gloriously serving him. And I saw the 8th heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Muath, changer of the seasons, of drought and of wet, and of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament, which are above the 7th heaven. And I saw the 9th heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kavim, where are the heavenly homes of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament on the 10th heaven, which is called Arabel. I saw the appearance of the Lord's face, like iron made to glow in fire, and brought out, emitting sparks, and it burns. Thus I saw the Lord's face, but the Lord's face is ineffable, marvelous, and very awful, and very, very terrible. And who am I to tell of the Lord's unspeakable being, and of his very wonderful face? And I cannot tell the quantity of his many instructions and various voices. The Lord's throne is very great, and not made with hands, nor the quantity of those standing around him, troops of cherubim and seraphim, nor their incessant singing, nor his immutable beauty. And who shall tell of the ineffable greatness of his glory? And I fell prone and bowed down to the Lord, and the Lord with his lips said to me, "Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise and stand before my face into eternity." And the archangel Michael lifted me up and led me to before the Lord's face. And the Lord said to his servants, tempting them, "Let Enoch stand before my face into eternity." And the glorious ones bowed down to the Lord and said, "Let Enoch go according to your word." And the Lord said to Michael, "Go and take Enoch from out of his earthly garments, and anoint him with my sweet ointment, and put him into the garments of my glory." And Michael did thus as the Lord told him. He anointed me and dressed me, and the appearance of that ointment is more than the great light, and his ointment is like sweet dew, and its smell mild, shining like the sun's ray. And I looked at myself, and I was like one of his glorious ones,